clarify all of your questions, you can just put it in the chat box so that I'll address each and every question, whether related to the topic or about insulin in general, or OADs plus insulin, whatever doubts you have, you please get it clarified, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, the first question is that, sir, what drug you advise for depression in elderly with enlarged prostate?
With enlarged prostate.
Yes, sir.
So depression, we generally go for the in diabetes. Sertraline is the best drug of choice, followed by the fluoxetine. These are the two drugs. The sertraline is one, which is very safe in diabetes, even in hypertension, and even in very safe in the elderly patients with even the cardiovascular disease also. So sertraline can be used starting from 25 or the 50 milligram of dosage, either the BID or the TID, and the next option would be the fluoxetine 10 mg or 20 mg once a day. It is sufficient. These are the good antidepressants, and we can go for even the tricyclic antidepressants. Actually, the amitriptyline and the nortriptyline also, they commonly used, and patient friendly also. And the one problem with this the TCA is, they cannot be used in presence of the diabetic kidney disease. You have to be very cautious as the EGFR goes down. You need to stop this particular tricyclic antidepressants.
Thank you so much for the elaborate answers, sir. The second question is that, sir, can ida gas be given during pregnancy? Maybe GDM patient, can it be given?
GDM patients, no, please, no. Still GDM. The insulin degludec has not gained the permission. You can.
But
Levemir can be given and insulin glargine can be given, but not the insulin degludec actually. Per se, it is not approved during pregnancy, Praveen. All insulins almost, and in due course it gets its permission, sir. Definitely it gets its permission. As of now, straight answer is no.
Okay, sir. The other question is that at the age of 85, patient at the age of 85, what level of FPS and PVPS has to be maintained?
At the age of 85, you can be a bit liberal at the age of 85. If the patient is healthy and hale without any comorbidities, you can target an A1C of 7.5 to 8, and in the presence of any comorbidities like the hypertension and the dyslipidemia and the other the atherosclerotic cardiovascular problems and all diseases, and you can flexible HbA1c will be somewhere around 8 to 8.5, and the fasting should be somewhere around 130 to 140, and postprandial the post glucose or the random any time of the day can be targeted somewhere around some 200. So it is flexible at the age of 85. And if it is with no comorbidities and the patient has no hypoglycemias and healthy and hale, you can set a target of 7 to 7.5 depending upon the patient's condition. That is more important. And the associated comorbidities, they play a vital role in determining the targets for the fasting and the post lunch and then the HbA1c, Praveen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the answer, sir. The next question is that what is the simplest way to arrive the optimistic dose of Ryzodec if you want to shift from other insulins?
It is always the 1-to-1 only this thing, and conveniently the BD dosage it is 1-to-1. So suppose the patient is on biphasic premix insulin, and we switch the patient to this the IDEC ASP, the Ryzodec. the equation is similar to that of 1 to 1. If the patient is taking 20-20, you can put the patient at 20-20. It is all the time 1 is to 1.
Okay, maybe the question is that, sir, after 1:1, how frequently can it be titrated, and how we can adjust the optimistic dose?
Acha, once in 3 days you need to monitor, and once in 3 days either you can escalate by 2 units or you can down titrate by 2 units. So as long as you are comfortable with the self blood glucose monitoring, and once in 2-3 days you can do that with this particular IDEC as per Isodec. Not only this, any insulin, even simple the IDEC is also used without any this thing the bolus aspect. Even the simple the Tresiba also can be up titrated or down titrated. We start with the 10 units. If it is at bedtime 10 o'clock or the evening 5 o'clock or evening in the morning also we can use this particular the insulin Degludec alone. We start with a dose of 10 units randomly, and we keep up titrating, that is escalating by 2 units in 2-3 days until the euglycemia is achieved, until the fasting is okay. And because the funda behind this particular the basal insulin fix the fasting first, that's it, okay. And it cannot fix the post lunch, and unless the fasting is fixed, you cannot fix up the post lunch actually. So the same principle holds good, like escalating 2 units or 4 units in once in 2-3 days by SMBG, Praveen.
Thank you so much, sir, for that response. The other question is that, sir, whether calcium can be given in elderly diabetes patients?
Calcium supplementation.
Supplements, calcium supplements.
Yeah, calcium supplementations can be given either in the dietary supplement or the tablet form or whatever it may be, can be given if you think that the patient has got some hypocalcemia. So the calcium always can be given. The best form of calcium is till today it is the calcium carbonate, that's it. Calcium carbonate is the simplest form, and the best form of calcium is calcium carbonate. And don't mix it with iron preparations, don't mix it with antacids, and don't mix it with the anti-hypothyroid like, okay, the LT4, the thyroxine should not be mixed with this, and there are certain the drug interactions with calcium. So better try to avoid the mixing of iron with calcium, the mixing of the thyroxine with calcium, and you can they give this particular this, because most of the patients above the age of 80-85, male or female, become they are osteoporotic most of the times. If you have a facility, you can measure this BMD, the bone mineral density, and ionic calcium should be measured actually, not the serum calcium. Serum calcium is a decisive parameter. If at all you want to measure the calcium levels, and you can measure the ionic calcium in the fasting state, then only you can fix the dosage, whether to be the tablet is to be given or the diet alone. Like the calcium is very rich in the dairy products like milk, curd, and the buttermilk and all, and then dairy products, it is very much available. Even in the fruits and all, and everything is vegetables, and the leafy vegetables are very rich in calcium. So you can either supplement through a nutritious and healthy diet, and in case you think that once you do this bone mineral density or the ionic calcium, so once you feel that the patient is hypocalcemic, you can always give them. It's not a contraindication. ACE is not a contraindication. That's going to prevent you from the fractures followed by the history of falls, which is very common at the elderly age, Praveen.
As a comprehensive approach and giving calcium supplements, sir, thank you so much. The next question is that, sir, especially treating COVID patients, a lot of steroids being used. So during this process,
Pardon, Praveen. COVID.
During COVID treatment, a lot of steroids being used.
Yes.
During this process, during this process, steroid-induced hyperglycemia is one of the major hurdles for non-diabetes patients.
Yeah, absolutely.
Recommend insulin in patients.
See, per se, if I have to tell about COVID may induce hyperglycemia by its own, on its own. Like, you don't need to give steroids for COVID to develop hyperglycemia. The COVID-19 has got the potentials to increase the levels of blood glucose. A transient state of diabetes can be induced by COVID-19 itself. And the second question is a valid question. That is, the game changer is always the steroids, not the remdesivir, not the favipiravir, nothing is no, not the plasma therapy, not the interference, nothing is proven good. The only thing is the in non-diabetics, if the blood sugars are elevated, you have to give a short-term dose of insulin. Absolutely no other medication can be given except the oral medicine is only the metformin. Apart from insulin, it is only metformin. And once the tapering, if you can start the steroid therapy and the down titration you do with the tapering dosage, probably the patient will not encounter this particular problem. And the improper usage of steroids in bulk may definitely lead the patient into the without diabetes also into the state of dysglycemia. So then the option is only the insulin. The best thing is this, the Idagasp is the best thing to cover that particular thing. You can just start with 6 and 4 and you can escalate it to 8 and 6 and like this. And twice a day Idagasp along with if the patient is not critically ill, if the patient is not in the ICU setting, the patient is not on oxygenation, the patient is not on the mechanical ventilation, you can always try metformin along with the insulin. In these cases, the above settings what I have mentioned, you have to withdraw metformin in case the patient is critically ill, seriously ill, and the ICU setup, on oxygen, on this particular mechanical ventilation. You stop this particular metformin and you have to go ahead with only insulin. That is, you can either try with the regular insulin with a bolus shot of the degludec, and that is the best way to control it. Or even BID Idagasp is as good as that in maintaining. And once you see to that the blood sugars are going down, and the patient starts experiencing this particular hyperglycemia, but this is a transient hyperglycemia per se. Whatever it may be, either COVID-induced hyperglycemia or the steroids induced hyperglycemia during the COVID treatment, they are transient and the patient becomes absolutely normal. So far, no patient has turned out to be a permanent diabetic in the little span of this almost 9 months, I think. And we have not seen that particular scenario anywhere. It's been not reported in the literature.
Thank you so much for that elaborated response, sir. So the next question is that, sir, along with BID Idagasp, do you recommend any other oral anti-diabetic drugs to cover the bed test?
Acha, along with the BID dose of Idagasp,
The lunch and dinner BID you must be giving. Maybe,
lunch and dinner is not the ideal way. See, whatever it may be, though it has got flexibility, so it has got flexibility, it's better you give one shot just prior to the breakfast and one shot prior to the dinner, and you can continue this along with the OADs like metformin can be continued. Even otherwise, even the cases where we have even in spite of escalating the dose, you find a high postprandial spike with a normal fasting plasma glucose. You may add the alpha glucosidase inhibitor like either the acarbose and the best. I use only Oglibose. Oglibose is a 0.2 milligram or 0.3 milligram, and anything can be used. And if the patient is at risk of developing the atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or an established case of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, so you have to be on this particular SGLT2 inhibitor, either the empagliflozin or the canagliflozin or the dapagliflozin, or the incipient heart failure, or the patient may be in frank heart failure. The SGLT2 inhibitors, they are going to play a vital role. Even the cardiologist, the algorithm is now changed. The algorithm for heart failure is absolutely this particular the mineralocorticoids and the RNA, and followed by the SGLT2 inhibitors, definitely. And on top of it, the ACE inhibitors are ARBs and the beta blockers. After ACE and ARB, beta blockers, and the mineralocorticoid receptor antagonists like spironolactone or eplerenone, and the RNA, that is sacubitril plus valsartan plus SGLT2 inhibitors has become mandatory. And now that the latest the indication from US FDA has rolled out that the dapagliflozin can be used in patients with heart failure even in the absence of diabetes. That can be used in non-diabetics also. That is the most favorable effect of the dapagliflozin or the other gliflozins. But as of now, the dapagliflozin is the only molecule that is to be approved by US FDA to be used in heart failure cases without diabetes or with diabetes. Is that satisfying answer?
Yeah, that's a comprehensive answer, sir.
Acha, good.
No further thoughts, sir.
So
why you get Oglibose? So there is a question on Oglibose.
see, because yeah. A good question actually. See, acarbose is a primitive alpha glucosidase inhibitor. Way back in around some 2.5 decades ago, it has come, and it has got a lot of the side effect profile with related to this gastrointestinal disturbance, the abdominal bloating or the belchings and the vomitings and diarrhea is more with acarbose. Not that I am in favor of Oglibose, and not that I am angry with this Bayer people. Nothing of that sort. I am commercially all the time unbiased. As a speaker, if there is something wrong with my insulin also, I'll point out. Certainly, that's not the point. And the in contrary, Oglibose is the best molecule with regards to, but and I want to make one thing clear. There are no mortality benefits with alpha glucosidase inhibitors, either with acarbose or with this thing. Only we Indians use this particular alpha glucosidase inhibitors because we consume lot of carbohydrates, and to they nullify the effects of carbohydrates only, we use the alpha glucosidase inhibitors. And Western scenario, it is not seen in the recommendations at all because they don't consume the carbohydrates as we Indians consume. So it has no mortality benefits. The only thing it can do is it can, the indication of alpha glucosidase inhibitor is a normal fasting plasma glucose with an abnormal postprandial excursion is an indication for acarbose or Oglibose. And when compared with these two molecules, and when it is related with this the gastrointestinal side effects, and this is much less with Oglibose and much more higher with all the acarbose. Initially we used to use only this particular acarbose only. That was the first molecule. If I am right, I was in the 94 or 95, I think. In the year 1994 or 95, the Bayer people have introduced this particular acarbose, glucobay. But okay, the incidence of nausea, vomiting, the diarrhea and the abdominal bloating, belching and the abdominal discomfort is very much less with Oglibose. That is the reason I select, because the quality of life is today's topic. I want to extend the quality of life to my patients by not disturbing them the gastrointestinal upset. So I would prefer Voglibose, which scores over Acarbose in all the ways.
Sir, does this point 2 and point 3 dose of Voglibose makes any difference? That's the question.
That's absolutely that's trash actually. See, that doesn't make any sense. So far to tell you honestly, I have not used 0.2 milligram of Voglibose so far. I always use only 0.3, and that too there is a method, Praveen. Like whenever you start this the Voglibose, the alpha glucosidase inhibitor, you have to start with one dose in the morning, where that is with the first bite of the breakfast, whatever it may be. Ask the patient to have the first bite of roti or idli, dosa, chapati, whatever, upma or khichdi, whatever he wants to have. And after the first bite, ask the patient to take the tablet of Voglibose 0.3, and then continue the rest of his breakfast. And after a week, you can introduce the second tablet. There is no major side effects and the tolerability is good. And if the patient says okay, then ask the patient to start the second dose with the lunch, and you can go for the third dose also with the dinner. And it should be slowly introduced once in a week, once in a week, once in a week, and after 4 weeks he must be totally with the full dose of the Voglibose 0.3 milligram. That is the making a total of 0.9 milligram of Voglibose in 24 hours. That's a reasonably good dosage, and don't go beyond the point. That is the maximal dose. 0.9 is, and most of my patients are on 1 tablet or 2 tablets, and some are on 3 tablets also. Comfortably doing, no gastric irritation, nothing, no belching, no bloating, nothing.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the response. And the last question we have got for the evening is that, sir, this is in continuation to your response on COVID.
Ah.
Beta cell dysfunction from COVID, the dysglycemia which you mentioned, is it temporary or permanent?
It's
Should they be on anti-hyperglycemia agent for lifelong or not?
So in patients without diabetes, right?
Maybe without diabetes, correct, sir.
Sir, see, anyway, diabetes, if the patient has got diabetes and COVID, the COVID comes and goes, but he has to continue the anti-diabetic medication, let it be orals or whatever be the insulins for lifetime. And the patients without diabetes, the normal population without any incidence of the diabetes or the hypertension or whatsoever, and if there is transient hyperglycemia, that is either COVID induced or the iatrogenic, the hospital induced, that is the doctor puts the patient on corticosteroids, the steroid induced diabetes is a temporary phenomena. It will not be for lifetime, Praveen. Definitely not.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And there is a question, maybe this is for me, what's the cost of rice? Rice today?
Right, sir.
Cost has come down so drastically. They had reduced almost this price is slashed by 30%. Praveen, now I have increased prescriptions, and my patients are asking for instead of a bottle and all this. The patients who are on this particular the Novomix, the insulin aspart 30 and the protominated aspart 70, that is Novomix. The patients are asking for a better insulin, and I am suggesting them that they hardly it makes a difference of a few hundreds. That's it, and thereby they are getting the, like, I think the MRP is 1320 rupees, because I generate on a regular basis at least 5 to 6 prescriptions in my OPD, the prescriptions for Rhizodec actually. So now the acceptance has increased for Rhizodec after the price slash actually, because it is at par with almost the insulin Glargine, the basal insulin, which we are the cost is somewhere around some 1200 or something else, and this is coming as better insulin, that is the basal plus is coming for 1320 rupees. This is supposed to be the best insulin on the earth, Praveen. Nothing can match this particular combination, Idecasp, because of the long plasma half-life of the insulin Degludec, more than 36 hours, So this is even you miss a dose also. I don't mean to say that my patient can afford to miss a dose, but in case it is missed, in case it is taken after the meal, in case once the patient forgets and he takes the meal at a party or something else, and he comes home back, and then also he takes also, and that works wonderfully. And the A1C reductions are unparalleled, unmatched, and the incidence of less hypoglycemia, almost no hypoglycemia, and especially the nocturnal hypoglycemia, which is proven to be very fatal and all, is not seen with this the IDEC asp, the Rhizodec. So that makes this particular molecule a rose without thorns, Praveen. Definitely, I would love to prescribe Rhizodec to my patients, and they are very happy also. Very happy.
Thank you so much for
With OADs or without OADs, Praveen. With OADs or without OADs. That's like some cases like okay sepsis, acute infections, and the prior to the surgery and all we withhold all the oral tablets, and we only put the patient on particular this IDEC asp and all, and the patients are very happy. And to start with like with a low dose, and I told by escalating to 2 units in once in 2-3 days until the patient reaches the absolute euglycemia, and that's a good drug of choice in my opinion. With all the experience I have with the different insulins, because in the primitive days we used to use even the bovine and porcine insulins also, Praveen. The days when I started my practice, nothing was there. I started using the bovine, and later on the porcine came. Later on the human insulins came, and later on all this in fact I have to tell you, glargine is there is a original research molecule of our own Novo Nordisk only. It's been sold to Sanofi actually. That's what. So we started using as and when, and once the Degludec has come, the IDEC asp has come, and nothing can match IDEC asp, nothing can beat IDEC asp with regards to the very good qualities regarding to the pharmacokinetic and the pharmacodynamics of this particular molecule, makes a very convenient choice for any clinician. Not only the specialist, even the primary care clinician also can start. It is very easy to initiate, very easy to optimize, very easy to intensify, Praveen.
Sir, there are almost 3-4 questions while you talk about Rhizodec, sir.
Yeah, please. I'm eagerly waiting for the questions. I know the session will not end up here, Praveen. The questions keep coming. Okay, you and I are pretty well aware of that particular fact. Okay, yeah, please. Next question, please.
There are a set of questions on the dosage, sir. When do you use OD and when to intensify with BD of Rhizodec?
Acha, so OD usage of IDEC asp and BAD dosage of IDEC asp. So basically, when the patient is on OADs, 3 OADs, still not to the target, and HbA1c is little bit high and not able to get back to the normalcy, and OD IDEC asp is given with the largest meal of the day. Suppose the breakfast is the largest meal, the patient eats like a king, the breakfast like a king, you give it at the breakfast. And if the patient has got the largest meal as his lunch, you give it just before the 5 minutes prior to his lunch. If the dinner is the largest meal, it should not be actually. Dinner should be like a beggar actually. So if it is a large meal, so you can just, the office goers and they take small lunch boxes and all. So if they have to have a lavish the lunch, and the postprandial the post lunch and the post dinner escalations are there in the glucose monitoring. So you can put it as the OD dosage. And when the patient is not able to reach the targets with OD dosage of the IDEC asp, you have to make it BD, so that some 8 units in the morning or 6 units in the night, and start escalating until he reaches a good euglycemia. And you can stop there, like, okay, if suppose the patient is very comfortable with 16 in the morning, 12 in the night, so you stop there and you keep monitoring the blood sugar levels as well as the glycosylated hemoglobin, HbA1c, and on top of it everything, the lifestyle modification is the game changer actually. So you motivate the patient towards the diet, exercise, and reduction in the weight, because Rhizodec I have not seen the weight gain so far. Hardly it is plus or minus 1 kilo. That's it, Praveen. The greatest advantage with weight is I've got ample experience with this the IDEC asp. Thousands of my patients are on IDEC asp actually, and I have not seen even in the very obese people also, I have not even seen 1 to 2 kilos of increment, unless otherwise the patient is in the very hyperglycemic state, and he has run down to like, okay, the last weight of 30 to 40 kilos in clinical practice. Therein we see the weight gain with the last weight is regained. That's it. The last kingdom is regained. That's it. So this is the difference between OD dosage and the BD dosage when we select is what I narrated.
Absolutely, sir. And again, a comprehensive answer on how to initiate and intensify.
Yeah, that's it. See, there are only 3 parts: initiation, optimization, intensification. Always, that's it. There ends the matter. Is, see, initiating insulin is as easy as drinking water. That's it, Praveen. It all depends. It all depends on how you counsel the patient, how you motivate the patient. You tell him the fact. Your body is badly running short of insulin. Your pancreatic beta cells are totally dead. You are not getting even a single unit out of your pancreas. So it is virtually useless. So you need to don't starve if something goes wrong with your house, and your wife doesn't or your mother doesn't make you food for the day. You don't starve. I think, I believe in, so everybody would go to a hotel or get some carrier or eat there or something else. Just like that, when there is absolute insulinopenia in the body, you need to when you have to go for exogenous insulin when the endogenous insulin totally is running short. The simple see, if a bank employee is were to my patient, I would tell him simply that, okay, in case inserting my ATM card for any number of times, it is getting as declined means the bank, my account is running badly short of the funds. It is not that the ATM it is putting funds in ATM, the account is similar to that of taking exogenous insulin, like the IDEC asp, whatever it may be. See, it is something like that. So you have to colloquially give the examples to the patient depending upon the profession. Even the illiterates also can understand if you counsel them in a proper way. And when you own your patient, when the patient has got lot of trust and confidence in you, then it is hardly takes couple of minutes to initiate insulin. That is my practical scenario, and your people have experienced it right in front of me.
Thank you so much for sharing your clinical practice with insulin, specifically with Rhizodec.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Just to reiterate, price on Rhizodec, sir. Rhizodec Flexter is a disposable device, comes with an MRP of 1320 rupees, and Rhizodec Pen is also called as cartridge.
Yeah, cartridge also is somewhere around some 1,000 rupees or something else.
1,000 rupees, and it can be used with.
Yeah, I know that because some of my patients are on Rhizodec this thing, the pen fills cartridges, and most of the patients are comfortable with this. They use and throw the flex touch, and the flex touch is the best way I'd ever seen, Praveen. With even the, so like suppose the patient is a no mix, or the human mixed pens use and throw, the multiple clicks, the elderly patients, it becomes sometimes the motor power is reduced in the elderly above the age of 80. It is a tough cumbersome job to squeeze that particular tick 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 until it comes to zero. Whereas flex stretch is a boon for those patients with motor little bit impaired motor function. One touch will get back to zero, and only thing is ask the patient to keep that pen intact for 30 seconds, so that in the small needle the insulin has to go through, and you are not wasting even a single drop of insulin. That's what.
Correct, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So these are the questions we have got, sir. Thank you very much for sparing your time, your valuable time, almost.
It's always my pleasure to interact with my participants, Praveen, and it's a pleasure to be there with my participants and with the Novo people. And thanks to Novo people for giving me this opportunity to be like with my fellow colleagues this evening. And wishing all the best. Take care of your patients. Take care of yourself first. And COVID episode is not over. It is something like a bubblegum cereal. It is still going on. Please, and don't panic about the new strain that is N440K, and don't worry about it. And it is not spreading so fast as we thought. It is like actually it is what it means is it is 75% more spreading means. Suppose the normal corona affects 1%, it is going to affect 1.75 persons. That is so roughly around two patients. If the normal corona strain COVID-19 infects one patient, probably the new strain may infect 1.75%. That is another one more patient. That's not like in hundreds or thousands, like. And the good part of this thing is the mortality rate is also little bit low when compared to this the new strain is the low mortality rate, and you don't need to panic at all about these strains. And the bird flu, it doesn't mean that you need to panic and all, and it is nothing to do with anything. Only thing is you cannot take the half boiled omelets or the raw eggs, and then the chicken should be like totally boiled like anything. And if you cook it in the pressure cooker, no bird flu virus will survive. It is nothing but as simple as another influenza virus. That's it. Okay, there is no specific treatment for COVID, so also there is no specific treatment for bird flu also. But as of now, nothing to do. Like any other influenza which causes the symptoms of flu, like you have to go on the symptomatic basis only. And I think in the down south, I think Kerala is the one that is affected with bird flu, I think, Praveen. And not reported in Bangalore, the Karnataka, the Tamil Nadu, Andhra and Telangana, Telugu speaking areas. I don't think it is there, and we don't need to panic about anything. Even the COVID also, I think it wanes off in 2021. Let us be hopeful. Let us be optimistic. Let us be positive. With that note, I just take leave of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your piece of advice on the epidemics also, like going to as a responsible physician.
Yes.
You advise your fellow colleagues on this. That's a really good gesture, I need to say, sir. And it's always privilege and honor to host you again. Thank you so much for being with us, Doctor and ma'am. I said a pleasure hosting you.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Have a nice
Praveen.
evening, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Right.